Welcome to the May 2011 Radnor Township Shade Tree Commission meeting. We have a busy agenda tonight. First of all, I'd like to apologize to those who perhaps were here or hoping to be here for the April meeting. We had some unusual circumstances that prevented us from convening. We'd like to start with item number 4, Valley Forge Military Academy. They have been before us previously with a 5-lot subdivision. This is a 4-lot subdivision. There really isn't any significant change in the way the Shade Tree Commission is going to look before this. So if there's representation here from Valley Forge, if you step forward and identify yourself.
Good evening. My name is Dave Fiorello, the applicant's engineer from Momini & Associates. I have a copy of the plan that I can lay out in front of you. Essentially, I think we were here before the commission about 2 years ago when the applicant first made the application. The school owns a parcel of ground on the west side of Radnor Street Road. The whole property is listed within the county records as one large tax parcel. The intent here is to create individual tax parcel numbers for 3 lots. What it'll turn out to be is 3 lots on the west side of Radnor Street Road. There are 2 existing dwellings. They're located on lots 1 and 2 on the plan here. There is a vacant lot which is listed as parcel 3. That is identified as a separate parcel because it is separated from the others by street, so it becomes an individual lot. The intent, once again, is to create lots for these, or create tax parcel numbers to actually create lots for the 2 dwellings and for the vacant parcel. It is strictly a subdivision plan to draw lot lines around these lots. There's no development being proposed as part of this, and I think we're here before you tonight because of the requirements of the subdivision ordinance. The plan that was submitted 2 years ago was a 5-lot subdivision because there's a parcel located here which is labeled as parcel B, which actually splits counties. There's a portion of it in Delaware County and Chester County. That was withdrawn as part of the application, so that will remain as part of the overall parcel. So we came back with a new application for 4 lots instead of the 5.
Okay.
There are 4 lots? I see 1, 2, yeah.
There's 3 individual lots and then the large parcel of the remaining lands. Yeah, parcel A, I guess, would be. The school owns the large piece, so what we're doing is subdividing those 3 lots off of the large piece, so the remainder becomes the 4th lot.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion here? Okay.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you moving me up on the agenda.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Okay, 260 Hilldale Road. Representation, please step to the podium, identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Robert Wigger. I'm the engineer for the applicant, Matthew Paolino,
Okay.
and I'm here to represent him.
Okay.
Basically, what we have is a lot, a vacant lot on Hilldale. We propose to put up a new house and the accompanying stormwater facilities and driveways and patio. We have to take down 9 trees that will be affected, and we're replacing them with 9 trees also.
Are all 9 trees hemlocks? Am I reading that? Or- Looks like 1 walnut.
Oh, yeah. One walnut, the rest are hemlock. And most of the hemlocks don't appear to be in that great a shape. Do you need another copy? I have one here.
Yeah, I think we're pretty good.
Great.
Where is it? Oh, I know what this is.
Robert, on the topsoil stockpile, will that be put back onto the site, or is that coming off at some point?
Well, generally, we try and put as much back on the site as we can. If we have excess, we'll truck it off.
Those are the moss. This is new. This is new. This is new.
Large circles are not. There's the building envelope
Okay, our first blush on this is, it looks like your proposed construction is within 10 feet of some significant neighboring trees. You've got a 34-inch ash, which looks to be just on the other side of the neighbors. Well, actually, 2 34-inch ashes.
Well, we're 20 feet away, but that's, the building envelope is very restrictive anyway. There's not too much more we could do.
Okay, your tree protection fence. Yeah, your tree protection fence is suggesting 10 feet. Your building is 20 feet, but
Right, the building is 20 feet. Yeah, will be some disturbance. Like I said, the building envelope is so narrow that you really can't get a house on that lot that's not close to the building line. And I guess we could shift it to 5 feet in the other direction. That would just, bring more trees into place.
What's that?
Sanitary sewer. Where is the sewer line?
No, this is the stormwater recovery.
this way.
And this is the bubbler.
Yeah, do you want to explain what you just said with the 5-inch, the 5 feet move?
Yeah,
Where would you?
What's this here, this
45
honeycomb
foot
thing?
aggregate side yard setback. We could put the 20 feet on the north side and make it 25 on the south side. Then I think we'd probably bring some more trees into play. No, that's one thing we could do.
I think that'd be an improvement. I'm not seeing any way where it would affect other trees.
Yeah,
but
no, only the trees the basin wouldn't have to move because we're not near anything down. So, yeah, we could slide the house over. And I think we have room, the driveway could slide too, we still have plenty of turnarounds. That would probably work.
Okay.
Would that If you move that, would that corner of that 32-inch hemlock, would that change shape a little bit, or would that encroach upon the roots of that tree?
Where's the 30?
You
Oh,
know,
yeah, on the property line.
yeah.
Yeah, that would probably move the driveway a lot closer to that hemlock.
Would you reshape the driveway slightly, or would that destroy your turning radius at all?
Well, you need 28 to 30 feet to have a good turn. And, we might be able to pitch it in a little bit, but it's certainly going to be closer to that hemlock than I hope.
What if you just flip-flop the whole structure?
Well, we did that first, and then it affected these trees even more. Because then the driveway was on this side, and even some of the hemlocks that were trying to keep it had to do it now.
Okay, we have a neighbor in the audience currently who's suggesting that many of those hemlocks are not of good condition anyway.
Yeah, I noticed that a few of them that seem to be a little on the
So perhaps it'd be a better choice to hold on to the ashes and flip-flop the house and eliminate the hemlocks. It might increase your planting formula a tad.
Yeah, I know I originally started with on the other side, and I can't remember the reason that we flipped it back, but I knew I guess we were trying to save those hemlocks somewhat. I guess they're not worth it. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we could try that too.
Okay?
The neighbor has something, she wanted to say something to the neighbor.
Okay.
All right.
Would you like to chime in, so to speak?
Could you keep that open?
Oh, sure.
Would you like to identify yourself? And
My name is Barbara Suzanin, and I live on 256 Hilldale Road.
Okay.
Some of those hemlock trees are coming down, and some of them are diseased, but some of them are healthy, and there are a mix of other kind of trees in there as well. It's a whole row of trees that divide, the property line. So I'd rather see the healthy trees stay. In fact, right at our garage, there's a big tree, and
Could you point on the plan that,
I don't know how to read plans.
See the street, right, on the
I
right-hand
think
side?
close to you is the row of trees.
This is the new house, this is the road here.
Okay, great. And some of them look pretty good.
Yeah,
to
the ones with
see.
the X's are
Yeah.
going to be
I mean,
removed.
it's really a beautiful street, and I think if you just took down all the trees to flip it around the other way, that wouldn't be a good solution, because that one tree that's dividing the two properties actually sits, I think, right in the middle of the two properties. So to flip the plan, you'd have to give up a lot more trees than just, because I know at least, I think there's 9 trees, and then I'm looking at the maple tree, and there's a beautiful ash tree that if you flipped, property would be
She's talking about
her.
here. Your house is right here.
And what we were suggesting was have it be that the construction be 5 feet further away from that side and flip the plan.
But if you flip the plan, then that beautiful ash tree, which is on the property line, 34
Mhm.
foot,
Right.
I think that would be disturbed, the root structure there, by flipping it.
Actually, I think by flipping it, we're staying 5 feet further away from it in the plan that's shown now. It is closer than we'd like to have.
So you're suggesting that the driveway open up along the property line here? Well, then what about the hemlocks at the one that he wasn't going to take down, a pine tree along that side? That would all have to go.
He's coming over here.
Yeah,
Two,
at the
three,
front,
four. One,
yes, at
two,
the front,
three.
those would be
So we were talking
more of a
about,
loss. It
It'd be
looks like it's a small pine from what I'm reading. It's a,
yes, it is,
Yeah.
but there'd be 4 trees taken down instead of just losing the one to accommodate the turnaround driveway.
Right, and so one of the things that would help to know is, you know, one of the things we're dealing with there is it's a 32-inch hemlock that's on the top of the plan, which is a large tree. If it's in bad condition, there isn't much point in worrying about it. If it's in good condition, then that's a significant tree.
I don't know how much we're gonna gain by flipping the house. Sliding it 5 feet would probably be the best we can do for the whole.
Yeah.
Slide it north 5 feet.
That would work for us.
Okay. I do
Because
as a
we have
neighbor
the
would rather
highway, you know, we're right near the Blue Route across the street, and losing that amount of trees, even though they're not as big width-wise, it contributes to noise. And increasingly with development on the street, I'm concerned about the noise pollution as well.
So if I'm understanding correctly, you as the neighbor would rather not flip it. You're fine with moving it 5 feet away from you essentially on the plan.
Yeah, that would be fine. Yeah, I just wanted, the reason I initially came here tonight was because the ones that he's Xed out are the ones that I saw as hurting as well, trees-wise. But some of those hemlocks are not along that line. You know, they just need spraying and taking care of. Okay.
Okay, so are you suggesting that any more hemlock should be taken down?
No.
I thought that was what I heard when I walked in.
No,
Okay,
no.
I'm sorry.
No, the ones that, now that I can see the plan, the ones that I noticed were ailing were the ones that,
Okay,
Just take it down.
okay. All right, the recommendation, go ahead.
Real quick, Howard, if you're pushing the house north 5
Right,
feet,
right.
what's that doing with the driveway turnaround? Is it pushing it 5 feet toward the property line, toward that 32-inch hemlock?
Yes.
Is that going to kill that tree, hurt the tree? That's the question I asked before.
What condition is that 32-inch hemlock in?
That I don't remember it being
The hemlock's
beautiful tree.
It's a nice tree. It's a beautiful hemlock,
Okay.
so.
You know it?
Yeah, I grew up next door here. I know all these trees.
and
So,
so are the ones in between the property lines. The ones
yeah,
that are good.
they were good. I mean, they need to be sprayed, like you said, but they can be saved.
Yeah, some of them.
This tree's in good shape. So the further you stay away from that.
Currently, the plan shows a grade change right by the hemlock and shows no tree protection fencing either by it. So, Jim, are you suggesting we not move?
No, you'd be.
Think we not move the 5 feet?
Get it away as far as you can from the hemlocks. But if you can cut this turnaround back a little bit, get rid of these notches in this driveway, but you're pushing into this other hemlock, give as much room as you can. And what's this, you got a 4-inch PVC pipe on this side going along this property line? What's that for?
Where are we?
On the bottom side of the house. To your left. To your left.
Between you and her
That
house?
line- Nope. Bring your finger down, a little, right,
Here?
Yeah.
that line.
That just picks up roof drains and gets it to the basin.
All right, why is it dotted and it doesn't go anywhere? Is that
Well,
another?
and it starts there, I'm figuring the gutters on this part run to the front and are picked up here. So we have to divide it in half, this half goes to this, picks up and goes that way. So that's the start of that.
The gutters here,
roof
downspout.
drain.
and that's
Coming-
where this
A
goes.
Coming this
downspout
way.
come down.
What's the distance between your pipe cut and that tree protection fence?
I don't know, about 6 feet maybe. Well, you know, that's just a schematic, that pipe will probably run right next to the foundation. It's not like it's not gonna be that far away from the wall when they put it in. Because they'll put it right in the foundation excavation.
So with the overdig, what's your area of disturbance going to be toward that fence, do you think?
Well, because the overdig's generally like 3 feet, plus you have to have room for at least a bobcat or something to get around, so we're talking, we need 10 feet probably, or 8 to 10 feet.
And that's where the
Right, so the further you can get the house away
Mhm.
from the root system of the trees, the better off you're going to be. And limiting the disturbance along this
Mhm.
line and beefing up you need some more tree protection around that 32-inch hemlock on the north
Yeah,
side.
if we move it to 5 feet up, that'll help that whole situation. Plus, it's better to have it near the foundation, the foundation away. If we have to move the driveway a little closer to that hemlock, or we can play around with the driveway and keep it away, it's better to have the driveway near the hemlock than the foundation near the ash tree, I think.
Yeah, as much room as they can give this hemlock by shifting it over is going to help it, but getting this away.
Yeah, we can play around with the driveway and get it a little further away from that hemlock.
Okay, I think that's about the best we can do. Now, again, it's tree protection around the 32-inch hemlock, sliding the house 5 feet to the north. You can't slide it further to the east because you're within the setback line, right?
Yeah, it just fits in the setbacks the way it is.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, 422 Boxwood Road.
That's me again.
Oh, goodness.
And the applicant, Mr. Leotti, is right here too, if you have any questions for him. Yes, I do. Okay, once again, this is this one is a tear down. The existing house is going to be removed and a new house put on the lot. The driveway is remaining primarily the same. There will be some regrading of the driveway at the upper end because the existing house had the garage at basement level. This one has a garage at just below first floor level, so we had to raise the driveway at the end a little bit. The new house pretty much is in the same basic footprint as the old house.
Is that little line with the little line on the inside of that, that's the old house?
Yeah.
Outline?
The light line on the inside is the older house, yeah.
Okay, on the south side of the property, excuse me, it seems to be a significant amount of grade changing going on.
On the south side?
Yeah, the bottom.
That's existing slopes.
that's- I'm sorry.
That's just shaded to show you the steep slope area.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Question, do you have 3 trees going off on the right-hand side, 2 off on the left, right near the property line? Why are you taking them down? Are they, because
Well, I
they're,
think the 2 little trees on the left are probably going to we need room to get around there. There's going to be some heavy equipment, and their root systems are going to get torn up. There's no point trying to keep them, sorry. I better put this over here. On the right side, we're going to be doing some regrading there because the driveway is getting raised, and we have to have a swale to direct some of the water around, so that we're excavating right in the roots of those trees, so they really had to take them out.
Are you showing your Your utilities on this?
No, we didn't really get it. We're going to use all the existing utilities we can. I think there's existing sewer lateral, existing water service, there's existing electric. We'll use what we can. We'll try not to put new ones in if we can help it. This is, we didn't take it to full grading permit, saying because we didn't know what was going to change. So.
Well, I'd like to see where they are on the plan.
Yep.
And is your electric underground right now, or is it above ground?
I believe it's underground. John?
It's underground,
Yeah.
in the rear of the house.
Coming from the rear?
To go, yeah. Yeah, it goes up to that pole in the back.
Okay, it comes down from utility pole and underground.
All the other utilities, I believe, come down to the road from the front of the house. So there's really won't be much disturbance in the area of the utilities, except if we have to move things around to avoid them, we will. But
The trees, they're not in the new trees, they're not in the utility line or anywhere, right?
no. Now the utilities, I think, come down pretty much, if you can see on the screen, down this way. So.
Okay, you've got one 20-inch oak that's relatively close to the change in your driveway grade and your stormwater retention system.
Right, I see that one.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, well, we can move the system down a little bit if we had to get away from that. We're not. That's generally going to be just a fill there. We shouldn't be disturbing too much of the root system. We're not digging there, so, and it won't be a deep fill there. So.
How much fill are you?
It looks like we're going to probably stop. It looks like we're going to be adding maybe a foot right there, 1.5 feet.
Because you're talking about a 20-inch oak. You're about 10 feet away. You're going to put a foot of soil on its root system. It's not going to tolerate that. Your stormwater system, perhaps you can slide it down and get it away, but that.
Well, see that it already had. That's the existing driveway is the same line, so it already has macadam on top of the root system, and in a lot of places. I mean, we wouldn't really be doing much worse than it's been done to it now.
So you're going to be pulling the macadam up and regrading and putting macadam on top of that.
Right.
Well, I think that's where you're.
Well, you're going to have to use like a lot of heavyweight stuff. You're going to have to compress that, right? When you put the new macadam on, is that going to damage the roots?
We're going to, compact the new soil we put down. That's only 1.5 feet, though. It shouldn't take much compacting.
All right. Is it going to hear it?
Like I said, those roots aren't probably doing much now anyway because they've had macadam on them for years.
Is that right? We're talking about these trees, this tree here. You got them around here.
This is existing blacktop.
Correct. So what they're going to do is
Rip it
they're
out,
going to take right up to this
fill it up.
and put it on. If they put that much pressure on this root from this tree out in that area.
Yeah, it's not going to be good for it.
Okay.
He says it's already.
Blacktop.
I think our recommendation is you can leave that oak there, but I would suggest adding that 20-inch oak to your compensatory planting in case it doesn't survive your construction, which
Okay.
we seriously doubt it will.
Okay.
Okay? Any other comments?
Just on a side note, you're on a project over on Yorkshire and Robin Hood.
That was me, yes.
Do you want to check the tree protection fence over there?
I'm the engineer. I don't even, after it gets approved, it's kind of out of my hands. But I'll have, make sure I'll get Mr. Paolino, I'll run,
That'd be great.
deliver the message to him.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda, I must recuse myself from since I am an employee of Cabrini College.
What do we need to do to switch to the PC?
And meanwhile, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Martin Pesch. I am a principal with WRT Walls Robertson Todd. I'm an architect. And with me is Jennifer Martell, the landscape architect in our firm.
Rob Lambert from Site Engineering Concepts, civil engineer.
Okay.
We don't have a picture yet. Nope.
Did you plug it in?
He had set it up.
There we go.
There we go.
Oh. This is the cover sheet on the preliminary plan submission. It shows the sort of aerial photograph of the overall campus. About 112 acres total within the current property line. Most of it in Radnor Township. Some of the campus is into different township. The next sheet, which is showing existing conditions, shows the top of the sheet is north. At the bottom, the road that's indicated there is Eagle Road, and the road to the right is then King of Prussia Road. It shows the current campus and the current buildings and the current entrances. There's an entrance on King of Prussia Road to the right, an entrance on Eagle Road to the bottom on the left. But that's not a full intersection because there's only certain turns you're allowed to make because of sight lines. And then there is a northern entrance to the campus at the top. There's two buildings that are sort of the core of the campus, which is the old estate, the old mansion, and Grace Hall, which is the old stable building, which I'm not sure that I can point that out on the plan. But they're really the two footprints in the middle, surrounded by a series of buildings that are mostly academic buildings and student life, and then mostly at the southern end, which is where this first project is being proposed. Sort of the residential, there's a loop road with residential structures lining the southern end of the campus. We have been working with Cabrini College on their overall campus master plan, which is really focused on upgrading existing facilities for the current campus community. There is a slight increase projected, at least for the overall master plan, but it's lower than the maximum population has been on campus. The plan includes a number of renovations of buildings, a number of additions, and a couple of new projects, a couple of new buildings. But the core of the campus plan is to actually remove vehicles from the core of campus, make it a pedestrian campus, and also reduce the amount of surface parking that's on that campus. The campus plan, overall campus plan, is recommending a slight increase in the total number of parking spaces to manage current daily operations. And one of the projects that is now come out, that is now in front of you, that we're proposing is to actually build a gateway structure at the southern end of campus, which is really a parking structure with a new entrance off of Eagle Road and new pedestrian pathways that connect the new gateway structure back to the core of campus. The loop road that currently exists on campus that rings the residential area is being proposed to be shifted south of this gateway project. And that's shown on the plan as well. So that's the project that is this current phase. The The next projects coming out of the campus plan, sort of the long-range plan, is then building on removing some surface parking and building a new campus center, which you could see at the top left, the new building footprint. And then if you go to the right, there's an addition shown to one of the existing academic buildings. That's an addition for a new dining center and a multipurpose gathering space. And then you also see the athletic center, which is a bigger footprint at the northern edge of campus. There's a small addition for lockers and toilets and storage proposed there as well. So those are the three projects that we've identified as part of the master plan that would come after the Gateway project. So the parking structure is really to concentrate more parking in one location, reduce the overall amount of surface parking on campus, and create a more pedestrian campus for Cabrini College.
So with Martin's introduction of the overall campus and the master plan and where the vision is moving forward to, we come to our preliminary plan application, which is in front of you now. We will be back in front of you, hopefully, for final plan, so we'll be back with much more detail. This is early in the process, so you are getting an early look, or the first township official look at the plans tonight, and taking a look. What I put up on the screen now, I don't see that I have a mouse, is the project area. And so if I go back to the previous sheet, on the bottom of the page, you see the three rectangles. That is, and then circled in a dashed line. The area circled in a dashed line is now shown on this plan. The areas are brown are buildings. We have gray. We have an existing parking area. The green areas are steep slopes, whether they're either they're steep or very steep. The lighter green is steep. The darker green is very steep. There's an area that's shown crosshatched, and if you look about the middle of the drawing, there's perpendicular parking along the access road. And then when that was built, I would say it was about the mid-90s, a lot of it was built. When they built it, they just kind of pushed a lot of dirt. They did not remove a lot of trees. They just pushed the dirt up, and you can see where dirt's really just pushed around a lot of the trees right now. As you could expect, a lot of the trees are declining. Some of them actually are dead or have fallen over. So really where the crosshatch area is, that's where dirt has just kind of been pushed down the hill there to create the parking. The next sheet is the same orientation. The dark brown buildings are the buildings to remain. The tan are the three parking structures. We have three different structures which are going to be connected with ramps on various levels to help circulation between the three structures. On the right-hand side, in the lower right-hand corner, is the new access off of Eagle Road that Martin talked about, that you'll be able to come in, access the parking structures, circulate through the structures. And then we've relocated the loop road to the south side of the structures, which is really going to enable a pedestrian-oriented campus now. The loop road side, the parking structure, you're going to be entering on the lower floors. Actually, the loop road is above kind of the basement floor, the first floor level of parking, and then you have the parking layers above. On the north side, it's actually going to be matching the existing grades of campus. As you saw in the existing with the slopes, is that whole part of campus is sloping off. So we're almost creating like a bank barn, a larger bank barn idea is pushing it into the slope, digging into a lot of the slope to be able to create from that upper level when you leave the parking structures, is you would walk into campus and you wouldn't have to cross a road, and you have this nice pedestrian feel throughout the center of campus. In future phases is removing that parking from the core of campus to just really create open greens throughout the campus. Working with those grades, we've really tried to minimize the amount of grading. For the overall, there is a lot of grading that's going to happen, but for the overall scope of the project, we've really tried to minimize the area of disturbance for the three structures.
How tall are they? How many stories?
I would believe it was 38 feet, 3 stories, so we're going to comply with zoning. We're not requesting any relief.
Well, there'll be three levels of parking.
Correct.
Total spaces is going to replace? I mean, is it going to replace all the ones you're tearing up plus some?
Correct. It's going to replace, I believe there's around 700 parking spaces. I'm not sure the exact number off the top of my head, but around 700 spaces in this proposed structures.
All right. And how many are you doing away with?
Give me 1 minute. I'll give you
Roughly
the number.
500, you mean? Or,
I believe we have a net out of about 150.
okay. And you're moving all that stuff down closer to Eagle Road? So when you get on the upper side of the parking structure, there are no vehicles up there generally?
Right, correct. If we go back to the overall plan, this is a little bit hard to see on the screen, but if you go back to the overall plan, you can see on the bottom, we would be really concentrating the parking there. Throughout the whole center of campus, we're going to be removing parking. We're removing a large parking lot in the upper right, and then a large parking area in the upper left. We will be adding some surface parking adjacent to the existing gym, just for a practical purpose there. But we are trying to limit the amount of surface parking throughout campus.
Are you going to add trees to where some of the parking currently exists, or is it mostly building?
A lot of that hasn't been determined. I believe the area in the upper right, that is a large surface area that's parking now. That's an area that, there may be some trees in that area. There may also be kind of an open field area, play area, practice area. So some of those areas aren't determined.
So where are you adding you're taking the 239 trees, are they all along this steep slope area?
Let me, I'm gonna flip it over to
Okay.
Jen. She can talk about a lot of the trees. But to answer your previous question, we were removing a total of, let's see here, it was over all the phases of the project, or future phases. We're removing about 690 and adding back about 812. So we have about 120 net add.
That was parking spaces.
Parking spaces, correct.
Not trees.
Not trees.
Sorry.
So this is a plan of the existing conditions. All of the green dots that you see are existing trees, and the ones with an X through them are the ones to be removed. The actual number, I believe, is incorrect on the agenda for tonight. It's 285 trees to be removed, 364 replacements. And
And what you just said is the correct amount, or?
yes,
Okay. And that's what shows on our plan?
that's what's showing on your plan, yes. So this is just an enlargement of the two areas. And this is the proposed planting plan. And you'll see the lighter green trees are existing trees to remain. The larger dark green dots are large species shade trees. And the smaller green dots, there's two different shades, are more are understory trees and ornamental plantings, and which I'm kind of keeping as the same species list for now because we're still in a very early phase of planting. And the more asterisk-shaped trees are evergreens. And then there's also an evergreen buffer, which is shown as a hatch along Eagle Road, which will be basically to sort of block the views a little bit more to the parking structures. And you'll see there's a species list at the bottom of the plan, which shows the suggested species that we're planting so far. They're all native plants. Most of the large trees are existing species that occur on the site and are doing well, with a few more thrown in for variety. And then a lot of there aren't a whole lot of understory trees on the site right now, so a lot of the understory trees are newer, but they're all native species.
Sporty or Coriana, native?
Which one?
I think there are a lot of non-native species there, so, but
Are you looking on the?
I'm looking at the understory and ornamental trees. It looks like replacement list, but maybe it's the ones coming out.
Oh, the Stewardia. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry about that.
And the magnolia and the cornuscusa. So why don't you
Okay.
just skip the native part?
Okay,
because
sorry.
you're not native, so.
You've done a great job with all your mapping and everything. Just, you've done a comprehensive campus plan with all of you've done a complete tree inventory of your entire campus?
No, is that a question?
Yeah.
No, we have not, we've only done a tree survey of this project area that you see on the screen. There has been previous tree surveys by other consultants
What percentage of your tree canopy do you think you're removing out
for
of
the
the whole,
entire campus.
out of this project? What percentage of your tree canopy do you think is getting removed to facilitate this project?
I haven't done that
I might be able to
calculation, have
answer that a
you?
little better. You know, we have about 112 acres. The entire project area was under 10 acres. It's about 10 acres, so it's probably at most, 8%, 6%, somewhere in that vicinity.
Well, this is the most wooded area that you have on campus, so the percentage of trees here would be a lot higher than you would have
And there's
on the remainder of campus.
Yes, there are more trees in this area than other parts, and some other parts of campus. If you go back to the overall, on the left-hand side of this, pretty much from where the parking spaces are shown on the left-hand side to the west, that area is very densely wooded also. The area on the east is also very densely wooded all the way around the driveway coming up. So yes, this is a swath that we do have. Trees, as I mentioned before, a lot of the trees in this area are declining. There's been a lot of concern. I walked to the property with Jen and the school's arborist, taking a look at a lot of the trees actually close to Eagle Road that they're watching, independent of this project, but they're just watching because they're concerned that, those trees are very large trees. They're close to the road. They are starting to decline. Obviously, the trees up close to where the parking is, I would say, at least 25%, if not more, are already gone from what was there before. You can see actually where there's some actually tree trunks that they leave just for the native habitat, the birds and everything else in them.
Just from a tree preservation or sustainability point, have there been efforts made to go into this woodland and really evaluate your inventory of trees that you have and make up a list of what is good and what is bad, and maybe preservation points of things that could be saved in this woodland rather than just clear-cutting everything you need? Or
in this particular area, the project, with the amount of dirt we're going to move, we are going to be removing trees. In other areas, we can take a look at, the existing trees and see what we can do to help preserve them and extend their lives.
I think that would be a great help for us if we could see just the inventory of what you have
On campus.
in this particular area and what its conditions are, tree by tree. There's a lot of big canopy coming down. When we see 50-inch trees, 48-inch trees, that's significant.
We actually have, and Jen can talk to this better than I can.
As Rob said, we walked the site and with the arborist, and we didn't do a thorough survey of every single tree and its condition, but we did note some of the larger ones that were sort of on the fringe of our work, thinking that, if it's on the fringe, maybe it's more likely to be able to be saved. So we do have some images of basically I put in here 3 particular trees that were the largest, that were right on the edges, like this 52-inch chestnut oak. And some of the comments from the arborist were that, it does have 2 leaders as an existing seam, so it might need some cabling if we were going to try to save it. Some dead branches. And then this is another example, a 52-inch tulip poplar. This one's got a big scar along the side and a lot of decay. And he made a note that it should be being monitored right now because it is close enough to the road that if it fell, it would go across the road. And then this is another one, and these are both over on the eastern side of the site. A 52-inch black oak. Again, 2 liters, so if we're doing work around it, it would definitely have to be monitored and probably cabled. So we have looked at some of them. We haven't done a completely comprehensive survey of the condition of every tree at this point.
My feeling is that if we can preserve some of what you have, if this is the only spot on the whole campus that you can put this, if you can work with what you have and make it a sustainable green structure within the realm of the woodland, it could actually be a plus for the township and for you. With a zoning variance, if you could reduce the number of garages from 3 to 2 with going a story higher, with a variance, that's going to change the whole footprint dramatically of what we're doing here. Maybe in tree preservation, we could save a lot more trees that way too. Just trying to work in the realm of what you have here, and with the number of, I mean, I know what trees are there. You know, I know there's some pretty significant trees that are there, and this is a lot of wood coming out of a really heavily wooded area. And just as a plus for Cabrini, if they could work with what is truly a specimen tree there, it would be great for everyone, if that's possible, with a real comprehensive tree inventory and working with a good tree preservation company or a good consulting arborist that could get you into that next step of what you have or what you don't have. And even positioning your buildings could be integral to saving some very valuable trees.
I don't know if Rob wants to talk about the grading at all, but I think one thing we have looked at, or we could look at a little bit more in terms of to preserve some more trees along the western corner where the new road sort of loops around. We could actually look at building a wall there to reduce some of that grading. So that was one opportunity. But we could also look at the actual building footprint some more, I think, also.
I think, again, we're here for preliminary. This is the feedback that we want to get. We can't commit to submitting for variance. All of you know that, we'd have to show, particular hardship for that variance, and we don't know if we could get it. So, we can go back as a team and consider it and talk to, other parts of the township and find out some input back to that. But, as far as we, move forward, I think there are some areas, as Jen mentioned, that we can look at trying to cut back that grading. A tree in the center of where the structure is, I'm not sure if that, we are doing, a major project here. We do realize that, but we're trying to plan a campus for the next 100 years. We're not looking at, a short term, build a house and sell it and get rid of it. The school is going to live with the campus and work with the campus and try to make it the most beautiful campus they can. So we do appreciate the comments, and we'll study it further as we move forward through the process. One of the things that I'd like to try to get some feedback today as we move forward and before we get into more detail is some of the species that we do plan on planting. And you mentioned some of the trees that we had listed that were, non-native. Are there particular trees that you would recommend, or you would recommend that we take off the list, or how would you direct us as far as replacement trees?
In terms of, we don't require all natives, but the two ash species that you list with concerns that the emerald ash borer is going to be entering our area very soon, I would suggest avoiding planting any ashes at this point in time. And also oaks in the red oak group, I would tend to avoid those. So red oaks, black oaks, which you don't have on the list anyway, but white oaks, bur oaks are certainly fine. The with the evergreen buffer, have you thought about what plants you were thinking about for that?
There are existing really beautiful rhododendron along Eagle Road, and so I would like to try to kind of keep with plants that would fit in with that palette. So probably staying away from, like arborvitae and things like that, but staying more with, azaleas, rhododendrons, and also some taller pines and things like that. But we haven't really looked into it that much.
One of the nice things about the buffer along the road is there is a little bit of a grade change when you drive along Eagle Road and you look up, if you're driving west on Eagle Road and you look up, there's, a 3 or 4 foot grade change for a lot of it, that the existing rhododendrons that are there really provide a nice buffer, a visual buffer, because, just eye level looking up, you're immediately blocked, that you don't need a 30-foot tree right there. So that's what we were looking at doing, a smaller understory type buffer in there. And we do have to be obviously cognizant of the deer browse.
Question, according to that thing, it says that about 30% of the trees you're going to be planting are like canopy type trees, and the rest are going to be smaller, more like ornamental type. What percentage of the trees are you leaving or removing are canopy trees versus, what's the ratio there? So it's basically right now it's 2 to 1, right?
And that ratio is flexible. We proposed the ratio just to try to start a conversation.
I was just wondering what, are 50 or 75% of the ones you're removing canopy trees?
Considering that the ordinance requirement is that we locate trees 6 inches in greater in diameter, most of those trees are going to be, canopy trees. So a lot of the ones that we are removing are canopy trees.
And also just, because of the existing problem with deer, understory trees and smaller saplings just don't have the potential to take off. So there just isn't much of an understory right now, unfortunately. And I think that actually adding more of an understory will improve the overall condition of the forest.
With what you just said, doesn't that conflict? So how are you going to get, if you can't grow understory now, how are you going to grow understory in the future?
Because we're going to be planting understory trees that are large enough caliber that the tree can't, that the deer can't get to them. That, if you're planting a 2.5-inch redbud or something, or,
And deer won't rub it. I don't think I think your thinking is flawed.
Well, I actually don't know if the thinking's flawed, but instead of having a sapling that it, right when it sprouts leaves, it gets mown down. I've done it in my backyard where, you see a little sapling and it's gone immediately. But if you plant that 2.5-inch tree and you make precautions that you don't get the antler rub on it that kills it, and that's something as simple as a black plastic pipe that you can put on it that helps prevent some of the, antler rub that tree will start to grow.
Okay, so you are planning some form of deer protection for the trees?
I think we're going to have to plant some type of deer protection for the trees.
Okay. In terms of more feedback, I think we would be interested in increasing the number of large canopy trees that are going in and increasing that percentage as much as possible. And then going back to Jim's suggestion of reviewing the site and seeing if there are some other things that may require variances but may also protect the site better or protect some of the trees. In terms of hardship or reasoning for that, the trees are a good hardship, or the reason of protecting the trees, I think, is a good cause, and we would certainly back you on that if so.
Yeah, and we'll, as I said, we'll consider that as a team and have to really, we'll take a close look at it and see if there's ways that we can, modify the plan to basically reduce the footprint. But we don't want to go too high because then, obviously you're getting, too much height. So, maybe there's some way that we can consolidate the footprint a little bit to limit our disturbance.
And it looks like you have evaluated what trees are in decline. As far as I can see, it's not shown on here. There's an asterisk for declining, but I don't see it on any of the trees, actually. But
there are a few that have them that the arborist, specifically pointed out as we were going through, like that one's probably on its way out. But like I said, we didn't really go tree by tree and say like yes or no. So the ones that he did note, are on there. I don't know. I can't remember specifically which ones they are, unfortunately.
Just on a project of this scale, it would be nice for us to see if you had a list of, say, we're going to remove 285 trees. Out of those 285, I have 50 dead. I have
we can definitely do something like
20 that are in poor shape, and I have 50 that are great trees. That's very relevant for us, so we can determine what what's coming down in the woodland and what a value is coming down, or what, you know, a 15th tree that's dead, that's of no value to us, but a 15th tree that's beautiful, that means a lot to us. So that's very important, the condition of what you have.
Yeah, no, we'll have the trees evaluated, and it might not be a, pinpoint, if there's one that's a particularly nice tree or a particularly dead tree, we'll probably note it, but all the ones in the middle we'll probably leave the way they are.
Any other feedback?
I'm going to throw you a real curve. I'm also on the Planning Commission, so you'll probably see me on the 6th of June, okay, which is why I'm here. One of the issues that we have right now in the township is that Eastern University bought a piece of property that belongs to Valley Forge Military Academy up on, and one of the big complaints is that the kids are going to walk through the neighborhoods and so forth. And one of the possible solutions to that has been suggested, I'm not saying that it's rational, is to have the Eastern kids walk across the street and walk along the edge of Cabrini campus and up to that spot along Eagle Road on the inside. And I was wondering, because I know I'm going to ask this question on Monday a week, is there any possibility that you would entertain putting some sort of walkway along, say 10, 20, 50 feet inside on the south side or on the north side of Eagle Road inside the campus so that they could do that?
I'd have to take a close look at that, but I'll be prepared on the 6th.
I mean, it may not be possible.
And that's what I want to take a look at. I know down, if we go further west, there's a ravine, and crossing that ravine may be
a problem,
more problematic. But it's something, I'll take a look at and we'll consider.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
And have you gotten the feedback you wanted?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
And if you, think of anything outside of the meeting, we're open. This is a process. We will be coming back and hope to get through this first phase so we can start to get more defined answers back to you.
Right. And I guess just one other comment. One thing that will impress us is if you have adapted the plan to try to protect significant large trees that are in good condition, and we're much less concerned about large trees that are in bad condition that are going to be dying soon. But,
okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. (40 Luella Court).
Good evening. Kaz Holloway, CF Holloway III and Company. I am the equitable owner of 40 Luella Court. We're here this evening to present a clearing plan application to remove 11 trees and replace them with 18 trees in what is now the parking lot area of 40 Luella Court. Just to give you a little history. Yes. We have, the reason why I'm here this evening, we have met with HARB, the Historical Architectural Review Board, previously twice. And we first proposed an above-ground garage. The board denied that application, and we met with the commissioners, and the commissioners asked us to look at alternatives. HARB had asked us to look at an underground garage, which we did present, and the feeling was if we could change the entrance and address some issues that that would be a much more viable alternative than the above-ground garage. So in the abundance of caution, since there were a number of comments about the existing trees, there's a beautiful copper beech at the northwest corner of the property, which we do not intend to touch at all. In fact, this evening I have Mr. Dean Deal, a certified arborist from Shriner Tree Care, with me this evening, and he has done a complete study of the trees on the property, and he will be addressing this application with the trees we're showing to be removed. But what I wanted to let you know is the trees that we are not removing any of the existing trees that are around the building. Our intent is to protect them, restore the building, and we're proposing an underground garage that will attach to the existing building, and thus the reason for our HARB application, because we're actually attaching to an existing building. So with that, I would like to ask Dean to come up and answer any questions that you might have.
Good evening. Can you see?
We have the same copy, don't we? Yeah. Yeah. We have the same thing, so you can point out on there. Yes.
Over at the far side.
But speak into the microphone if you would.
Over at the far side, if you allow me to begin there, it's a Norway maple. From a health standpoint, it's a fairly nice-looking tree.
Norway maple or Norway spruce?
Norway spruce. Did I say
Okay.
maple? Sorry. It's a Norway spruce. It has a couple of wrinkles in the trunk, but the tree is, for all intents and purposes, a nice-looking tree. The next tree in from that is a red oak. The red oak has three Garmularis stems down at the bottom, trunks at ground level. The canopy is quite full, so there's something happening down at the base where the flare roots are on that tree. The next tree...
Is that what's listed as pin oak on here?
Yes.
Okay.
Next tree beside the garage is a mulberry. I'll skip over that and not make any comments on that. Then this group of 6 trees that are made up of various oaks and Norway maples. They are not in bad shape, but the Norway maples are what they are. And the largest of the oaks, I can't see it from here, but I'm sure it's a red oak. It's dead. It's completely gone. So of those 6 trees, the one would have to be removed anyway. Then moving over to the last 2 trees, those silver maples are what they are too, and the canopy really isn't that bad on the silver maples. Before we talk about any of the existing trees, when I saw this, on a side note, for 25 years I was with West Goshen's Planning Commission, and for those years I was chairman. And I never had a plan where somebody came to us and said, I'd like to put or change or reconstruct this and put an underground parking lot just to save a green roof and have a lawn above it. I thought it was pretty creative. Moving on from the 2 silver maples, there's 2 cherry trees at the front entrance, or I'll change that, probably it's the rear entrance, that there's no plan for those now that they can stay, weeping cherries. And then it comes to that magnificent beech tree. Now the copper beech and any trees from here on that I address, it's probably our hardest undertaking because it's to preserve what's there. So it's not only construction zone protection, but anytime a storage site is asked for on this, it has to be addressed and put away from the trees. Anytime a walkway or another pipe or piping has to be done before construction is done or attempted, we would have to air spade to find where the roots are to that copper beech, but also to the cedars around back. Then root pruning would have to be done. So Mr. Holloway isn't suggesting that those things be put in with trenchers or, at this time, backhoes, but any alterations to the subsurface and the soil would be done first with air spading, then root pruning, and that doesn't even take into account for the zone protection around the tree with wood chips and before and after fertilization and soil amendments. The trees beyond the trees beyond the beach, there's a cedar on the far side, and there's 3 on the back or front side. I'm going to call that the front because coming up the entranceway, I rightfully should call that the front. And then there's 2 magnolias on either side of the front entrance that they'd be pruned so they're matching just to conform to the finished product of the building once it is done. Do you have any questions?
The reason the silver maples are being removed are what?
I don't believe they're impacted by the garage. It's just that in the replacement, which is on another one of your pages, Mr. Holloway plans to plant 18 sycamore trees. So 14, I'm sorry. So 14, I just put 4 more on and we'll put them in the garage. But those trees would be more uniform without the silver maples. You might say, well, the silver maples are there and they're old trees. But you know, if you look ahead 30 or 50 years, they probably don't have that life in them to begin with because they're very mature silver maples now. And it would be an awful, I think, a slap kind of to the project if they couldn't make a uniform planting of sycamores around it. The sycamores are much hardier than anything that's there now anyway, I believe. And just to go back to the copper beech, which requires a lot of protection, there is a cavity in it, about a 2-foot cavity, 8 foot up. But you know, the way that tree is and in the way it's grown and how beech is locked together, I think the tree is not only safe, but for as old as it is, very healthy.
How old is it?
Pardon?
How old is that tree?
No, I don't. Maybe 100. I think I was talking to Mr. Holloway, and he said it was planted in, it wasn't there in the original, so 1840.
What's the life expectancy?
The house was built, the original house, the Askin estate, was built in 1865. Mr. Drexel and Childs bought the property in 1880. The photographs we have of that era do not show the beech tree, so it was planted sometime after 1880. We don't know when.
100 years old.
Pardon me?
Still could be 100 years.
Yeah, I believe it's 100 years old because one of the that was one of the neighbors, a number of the neighbors at the 2 meetings asked specifically about that tree, and I said that I would do everything to save that. I knew it had a cavity. I didn't know how extensive, whether it was safe or not, and that's why I asked them to really look at it. The nice thing about that tree, if you stand on Lancaster Avenue and look up, the canopy extends above the existing house, and that house is very tall, and it's so I was really pleased to hear that it could be saved. The other thing is it's not the maple, the silver maple that was being discussed. If you look at that, it's right on the curb line of the street, as opposed to the copper beech, which is about 12 feet back from the curb line. You know, the center of the tree is about 12 feet back from the curb line. So it's really off the beaten path and it's protected. So our intent is really to go to great lengths to preserve that tree during the restoration process of the home. We're not anticipating any building or digging or disturbing anywhere near the beach, other than if you look at the concept plan that our Gordon Eady did, our landscape architect. Matter of fact, I have a color rendering of that plan. It might be helpful.
I don't think we need I mean, you can put it there, that's great. But there will be a new driveway near that beach.
Yeah, that drive, what that is for is we want to create an area where it will meet ADA access. If you're familiar with the existing mansion, there's probably 7 feet on the front of the mansion, from the patio, front porch, down to the street. On the north side, which is the rear of the building, the patio is about 32 inches off the ground. And what we want to do is create a pull-off so that somebody could get out of the car, raise it right where it enters the door, and come back. So we spent a lot of time today looking at that very issue, because I wanted to, remember, this is just in concept, so we have not submitted it as a grading plan application yet, but we wanted to make sure that ADA access could be installed without endangering the Copper Beach. And if you have any questions to Dean, I think he can address that.
I guess one thought, it looks to me like that driveway will be fairly close to the tree. For a tree that size, those roots should be going quite a ways. And one thought, I'm having trouble with justifying cutting down the silver maples, but if that pull-off were to be done such that it moved more towards where the silver maples are and further away from the Copper Beach, that should be good for the Copper Beach. That may then be a justification actually for the cutting down of the silver maples. I have trouble just cutting them down for aesthetic reasons. If they're in bad shape, that's one thing. If there are other problems with them, but it sounds like they're healthy trees, which I have trouble cutting down with just to be able to plant all sycamores, because I think if you were doing just all sycamores, you'd cut down the beech too. But I would listen to an argument about moving the driveway, and if that impacts the silver maples, I'd go along with that argument.
If we did move the driveway, it would mean the 2 weeping cherries would probably be lost under that scenario. We did kind of the radius on this plan is actually larger than the radius that would be required. In checking it out today, we felt that we could really keep that drive away from the drip line of the tree and probably impact less than maybe 2 or 3% of the root system, if that.
Without a mathematical number here tonight telling you how far it is away from the trunk itself, we were outside of the edge of the drip line where the driveway makes the outbound turn, if that helps you any.
And if you're saying it's a 100-year-old beech tree, those roots are way beyond the drip line of the tree.
Right. I just wanted to tell you where it winds up.
So to me, an 8-inch and 12-inch weeping cherry is pretty easy to replace.
I agree.
And I'm listening, and I'm impressed by your interest in saving the beech tree. And so I have real concerns about the driveway. And again, we don't have construction drawings to show exactly how close it is, but I have real concern about how close that driveway is to the beech tree.
If you look at the first plan, one of the things on the plan, because this was submitted, as I said, for HARB, this is actually a field survey, so everything on this plan is accurate and was just done. If you look at this walkway right here, it's showing to be removed, and what Dean, in doing the inspection today and the walkthrough, he recommended keeping that. If we intend to do a walkway, because I had asked would it be possible to do a sidewalk along the curb, and Mr. Schreiner was with them. They said, do not do anything around that tree, and if we're going to do anything, just replace they are brick pavers. This walkway is actually brick pavers, so that we would keep that walk in that location to create access around the building. So that was something I learned today. If you look at page 2, it actually shows the location of the underground garage. And what's interesting about that plan, and if we were to do an above-ground parking lot, we're required, there are 25 existing units in the building. We're reducing the number of units to 12. We're going to increase the size of the units, restore the whole building, and do 4 units per floor. There's 3 floors. So there's going to be 12 units. And even though we're not required to provide the parking for the current ordinance, we are trying to comply with everything we possibly can. ADA access, we're putting an elevator in the building, we're creating ADA access where we're not required to. We want to provide 2 parking spaces per unit. So we're really excited about the possibility of doing the underground garage, because it's going to allow us to create a Victorian garden that the residents can use, and it will not impact the neighbors. They will have the same sight line that exists now, except they won't be looking at the existing parking lot and dumpsters, because everything will be in the underground garage. But if you look at this, this is really a 12-car parking lot, whether it's above ground or below ground. So this is how large. Right now, there's the existing parking lot will handle legally 19 cars. This Saturday, there were 21 cars parked in it. But the new underground garage will allow us to do the plantings of the sycamores around the perimeter and create a nice open yard area above the garage. So, Mr. Thomas, to answer your question, getting back to that silver maple, when we do this, the overdig for the garage, I'm told, will have to be about 3 to 4 feet in order to properly waterproof and the storm drainage and everything. So I think if you look at the proximity of the northwest corner of the parking garage to the silver maple, the 2 silver maples, that's why I asked to show those 2 trees being removed.
Okay. The corner of the underground parking lot will be between probably about 25 feet from the existing silver maples.
Yes.
Is that right? I'm
Yes.
reading that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
And the root system of those 2 maples right now is where the existing entrance is to the parking lot. If you look at the first sheet. Actually,
The existing parking lot comes in front, to the right, to the left of the Silver Maples.
different plan, different application, but no, this is the hard plan. This shows the existing parking lot. We didn't want to show it on your plan because I learned from the last submission that you like to see where the trees are. So we turned that layer off. But do you see where how wide this entrance is, this macadam entrance?
The new or the old?
The old one?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Question. Between you're not going to change the existing curb around the road, right? The loop road around it, it's not going to change. But you're going to have a foundation wall for the parking garage, which is going to be, what, 10 feet tall underground?
Yes.
How far is that wall going to be from the edge of the curb? I mean, that's going to be where the roots of those new trees are going to be planted, right?
It sits back about 30 feet on all sides. The underground garage is centered in the lot.
And it's going to be.
Is that your question?
Yeah, there's going to be 30 feet between the exterior wall of the foundation wall of that parking garage and the curb?
Yes.
All right. I used to go by there all the time. It doesn't seem like it could be that big, but the real question is whether the roots of the trees that you're going to plant there, is it going to be big enough to support those trees? I'm an electrical engineer. I don't know.
The sycamore trees are going to be planted 10 feet off the curb line, so there's going to be approximately 15 to 20 feet to the building. And that'll be all reinforced concrete.
There's a direct access between the garage and the basement, I assume, the lowest level of the building, right? And that's
Yes,
going to be the access.
and that's located on the south side of Luella Court, right here.
That's the entrance to the parking garage, right?
Yeah, to the parking garage, yes.
I meant tying that to the underground where people walk up.
Oh,
from the
I'm
cars to the
sorry,
building.
there's a bridge to the basement level.
And that's what you had to hit the harp for, because, thank you.
Yes, but that's all underground, so that there isn't anything that sits up above ground. So what we've done is we've eliminated the existing entrance to the above-ground parking lot, moved it to the opposite side, have a single entrance going into the garage, and the trash room is located at that entrance. So the trash trucks and all the cars will be utilizing one location to exit and enter the parking garage. So we really think we're very pleased with it.
Yeah, the beech being as old as it is, beeches, and Bill and Jim can attest to it, they're probably one of the most sensitive trees to play under its canopies. And if we can move that ADA access to the east as far as you possibly can, and provide as much relief to the beach, that would be our recommendation. Okay. The silver maples in that case become less important.
Okay. Well, we will be back in when we bring that plan before you. What we were hoping tonight is if you could rule on the trees we're showing for removal for the underground garage, so that we can, when we meet with HARB, since we've already had 2 previous meetings with HARB, we can report to them that we have been before the Shade Tree Commission and address their concerns.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we approve. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
It's all right. Okay, there's no old business to report, except we have, again, due to generous support of Chanticleer Foundation, planted about a dozen trees along Lancaster Avenue this spring, and we're looking forward to plans to plant more in the fall. Any new business amongst our group? Okay, there was one hazardous tree report. It was 209 Midland Avenue, a great old 36-inch willow tree that decided that it was leaning, and like willows often do as they get older, so we approved that to be removed. Is there any other business? Yes, sir.
Hi, nice to be here. Jim Schneller, I live in St. David's. I was wondering if you had all seen a copy of my letter. About 2 weeks ago, I had asked a couple of different innovations, or I had asked to see it, as I did a year ago, at possible language about, or something to be done about occasional poisoning of trees by people seeking to avoid the shade tree chapter. And to make a long story short, I'm here because I wanted to address a situation at North Wayne Avenue. It's at 103 North Wayne. The former Emlyn, who was at Emlyn Realtors, just one building off of North Wayne, across from Restaurant Row. Who's the other one? C.N. Agnew. Oh, this was the C.N. Agnew, 3 doors down, next door to the jeweler. Anyway, you take a right onto North Wayne towards the train station. There's the premises. It's going to be a restaurant, and
This is the one that has the raised concrete.
Yes, they've graded for sidewalk, and because it is quite a steep grade, and I've been carefully monitoring a pair, and I've been monitoring it because when they laid the sidewalk, they got the standard permit, but they then cemented half the square right up, really literally right up to the trunk. And you remember that maybe a year ago I was in here about that, and I've just been continually harping on it because I don't think that, we have a street tree ordinance, and this was also possibly a landowner seeking to remove that tree square, and those pairs are evenly interspersed along North Wayne, so we'd be losing a nice, and that one is right at the entrance to the small alleyway that goes back to the Presbyterian Church, which is very scenic. For a number of reasons, I fought for it, and apparently they've agreed to put a grading there. I guess it's going to be a full square grading. The tree, however, has suffered. This was one of the trees I had on my proposed list of possible, adulteration of the soil or who knows what. And I'm here to ask you the possibility, have you ever, or do you have any expertise, or certainly, I'm looking for township authority as to irrigating. When they come in to put in a square, they're going to be removing 2 foot by 2 foot squares of new cement. And I'm wondering, would that be a good opportunity to irrigate, to give it really full drenching once a week for a month? I don't think it would be costly for any vendor or any landowner. And so I wanted to ask your opinion before I go and ask community development. Because, and of course, this is assuming that there's some kind of soil problem, but every other pair on the block is great, and this one only went downhill over the space of a couple months.
Okay, as some of the trees that, if I recall, I don't remember all the details, but I remember there were some along, I believe, Poplar Avenue that supposedly people suspected were being poisoned. And many of those trees were in the red and black oak family, which Bill mentioned earlier tonight, are suffering from a bacterial leaf scorch. And being street trees on top of that, that's the reason for their decline. The pears along North Wayne Avenue, in my opinion, all of them are reaching their mature age. I'm not sure how much longer any of them are going to last. Calorie pears are not typically a long-range or long-lived tree to begin with. Whether or not we could suggest that that particular tree that you're mentioning near the new restaurant be irrigated Yeah, sure. I mean, it couldn't hurt it.
Oh, great.
But,
Wonderful. That's
Yeah.
enough for me.
okay.
I wouldn't want to, because I don't have any large-scale projects in mind, just to give it a try. I'm going to propose it.
Okay.
By the way, at 209 Midland, does that tree have to go? And I don't want to be a stickler, but I know that there's a proposed garage with a second-story apartment proposed there. And I'm objecting, informally, I'm objecting to the fact, did they really inspect it, and could it be cabled?
It's not a question of cabling, it's actually pulling itself out of the ground.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
Thanks. Thanks for your
Okay.
time.
One last thing. Did last year, did you bring up about sycamores and concerns with sycamores?
That was me, yeah.
Okay. And I mentioned last year that it was anthracnose, which is a fungal disease. This year is also going to be a very bad anthracnose
I just saw my
here.
first
Yeah,
one.
okay.
In fact, is it the same anthracnose that attacks the flowering cherries? The big-leafed?
It's a similar fungus.
Just a little different.
Yeah.
The cherries, they rebound very quickly. The sycamore is a little different in that it does affect them. They have to regrow new leaves again, and for mature sycamores,
Right.
it's hard.
I'll bet.
Every year that they have it, it's very stressful on them, so that's the biggest problem.
So
I'm praying for
wanted
them.
to warn, yeah, they will survive. But it's going to be a bad year for them. They're going to look,
about
they're
the
going to look
dogwood?
dead, but then they'll leaf out again.
I noticed the dogwoods are flowering more beautiful every year, but how are they handling it lately? Are they going to make it?
I'm optimistic. Thank you for coming.
Okay. So be it for the May 25th. Next meeting is June 26th, something like that, but we'll keep you informed. Thank you.